Warning: the following episode contains elements of horror that may be unsuitable for listeners under the age of 13. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, we've been expecting you. I'm Brianna, and welcome to Beyond the Bazaar's 13 Nights of Frights. From October 19th through October 31st, Halloween night, we will be sharing with you some of our favorite hand-picked urban legends, lore, stories, and more that we love to talk about during this special time of year. So take a seat, make yourself comfortable for these 13 nights of terror. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. It feels so weird to say happy Monday instead of happy Tuesday. But today is a good Monday because today is our first episode of our 13 Nights of Frights, our Halloween special here at Beyond the Bazaar. So, for these next 13 nights, we're going to be sharing with you all just some of our favorite tales, stories, and lore. So, tonight's episode is appropriately going to be centered around the number 13. So, before I get into any other details regarding tonight's topic, the number 13, if any listeners under the age of 13 are listening, please listen or get permission from your parental guardian before listening, or listen with your family. It doesn't matter. But just as always, listen at your own risk. I mean, not listen at your own risk. Yes. Listener discretion is advised, I should say. No one's going to get harmed from listening to our podcast. At least we hope not. So, back to tonight's topic, the curse of the number 13. So, well known to a lot of people, there's a lot of superstition that circles around the number 13. And to this very day, many people do not like the number. They consider the number unlucky. If you ever visited a hotel or any tall building, you may notice in the elevator that they do not have a 13th floor. I don't want to say they don't have a 13th floor, they probably just don't show it on the elevators due to that superstition. I've noticed that myself. And it stems back to many people just believing the number is bad luck. So when I did some research here, I actually found some surprising roots as to why the number 13 has been deemed unlucky. Many of the reasons are actually rooted in the religion of Christianity. Due to there being 13 people at the Last Supper, that's kind of where some people have gotten the notion that 13 is unlucky. And it's actually been said that either Judas or Jesus himself was the 13th person to take their seat at the Last Supper. Also, in the Christian Bible, the 13th Psalm in the Bible concerns wickedness and corruption. So that's another evidence that's kind of led to people to feel that 13 is just not a good number. Also tied to religion, the incarceration and execution of the Knights of Templar. For those who don't know who the Knights of Templar are, they're rumored to guard the Holy Grail. And back on October 13th of 1307, which happens to have been a Friday the 13th, the Knights of Templar were incarcerated and executed starting on that day. So you're starting to see a trend here where 13 is just not a lucky number biblically. So outside of the religious references of the number 13, I did also find some historical references as well. With historical references, the first one that I was able to find pertains to the gallows. So supposedly there were 13 steps up to the gallows. That's really morbid. But there were 13 steps. There was actually a popular statement from a park ranger that was at the Fort Smith historical site, and he actually once stated 12 steps up and 1 step down. That's just terrible, but I mean, I just thought that was worth mentioning. Another piece of history that relates to the superstition around the number 13 is that a witch's coven has 13 members. Per lore, it was once believed that a coven of witches consisted of 13 members exact. Whereas nowadays, in modern time, a coven can be any group of witches, whether small or large. And I think that just kind of, with the whole witches thing, I think that just kind of stems from back in those days, people thought that witches were just bad. Back then, the witches may not have even just been a coven of just 13. They may have just associated witches with number 13 because it was already deemed bad anyway. So that's just horrible. But moving on to the next rumor around the number 13 is that if you have 13 letters in your name, it could mean that you're cursed. So this superstition is kind of old, but I did look into some research here, and a lot of notorious serial killers had 13 letters in their name. Some of them being Jeffrey Dahmer, Theodore, aka Ted Bundy, and even Charles Manson all had 13 letters. I don't think I need to say anything else about that. So outside of possible names being cursed, many businesses also do not look forward to the day Friday the 13th, because they tend to not make a lot of money or do good business just for people having such a strong superstition in that day. And kind of the more logical, I should say, reason that people just consider 13 to be unlucky is the fact that the number that precedes it, the number 12, is a perfect number. So by logic, 13 has to be an unlucky number. I don't know, that's just what some people believe. But not all people find the number 13 unlucky. Some people have actually stated that the number is lucky for them. It's been associated with really great things in their life. One person I could think of is pop singer Taylor Swift has actually publicly stated that 13 is her lucky number because so many significant things in her life has centered around the number 13. And thinking back to myself, I can't really pinpoint anything that's happened to me that's negative regarding 13 or even Friday the 13th. Like, I can't lie and tell you that when it's a Friday the 13th, I don't wake up and I'm not anxious about it. Like, I'm like, I hope nothing happens, but knock on wood, I made it this far without anything happening. Actually, I remember it was about a year or two ago. It was Friday the 13th, and I was at work, and something had happened with the systems, and they had went down for, I think, either half the day or a couple of hours. And I remember saying, this is the luckiest Friday the 13th I've ever experienced. Now, I mean, for the company, it was bad, of course, but for us, we were like, yes! But outside of that, the number 13 or Friday the 13th hasn't really been any significance or just any other day in my opinion. But now I know that you all may think I get in a habit of sharing rituals with you guys or want you guys to do these dangerous things. And I mean, if you do, please let us know. But I did find a ritual pertaining to the number 13. It's actually called the Curse of 13, or Curse of number 13, I should say. And it is really interesting, so of course I have to share it with you guys. So the ritual itself originated in Brazil. And during this ritual, the players can summon an entity that collects human souls. Before I get into it, play at your own risk. So the ritual is said to be responsible for the disappearance of young people, particularly young boys, back in the 1980s in Brazil. So prior to their disappearance, the individuals who played the game would display patterns of odd behavior between 3 a.m. and 3:59 a.m. The odd behavior that they were exhibiting would occur in the days leading up to the 13th of the month. On that 13th day, the player would disappear with only a card left. And the card that was left would read, "He is in my shadow. There is no hiding. And don't look in the mirror. It's there." The man is there at 3 a.m., and in the next 3 minutes, his soul will be his. That's what the card says. So the card that's left is in Spanish, but I gave you guys the translated version, of course, because as much as I wish I was fluent in Spanish, I'm not. Maybe one of these days, manifest. But as for the ritual itself, the ritual is a test of will or bravery. Since, of course, you'll be summoning an entity that would collect your soul if the game is not played correctly. And naturally, we're going to tell you how to play, but as we always advise, play at your own risk. There can only be one player. The supplies that you will need are a candle, matches or a lighter, a mirror, a dark cloth that is large enough to cover the mirror, a calendar, some kind of timekeeping device, salt, and a quiet dark space. After you gather the supplies, prepare the space. Check your calendar and whatever device you're using to keep time. Wait until the early morning hours on the 13th day of the month. On the 13th day, shortly before 3 a.m., bring your supplies to the dark room. Be sure to close the door behind you. Place the candle near the mirror in a way that it illuminates you and your reflection. But be sure to keep the lighter or matches nearby. Place the salt nearby within reach when you're standing or sitting in front of the mirror. Turn off the lights. Stand or sit in front of the mirror. Watch your timekeeping device. At exactly 3 a.m., light the candle. Look into the mirror. Keep in mind the time. Keep looking. Remain mindful of the time. Look closer. Keep in mind the time. Pay close attention now. When 13 minutes have passed, take note of what you see in the mirror. If the reflection has not changed, the ritual has failed. But beware. The failure of the ritual does not mean you're safe. If you see a figure behind you, the ritual has succeeded. But beware, you are no longer alone. If your reflection's eyes have turned black, the ritual has succeeded. But beware, your reflection is no longer your own. Completing the ritual. Once you have noted your observation in the mirror, no matter what the observation was, immediately, and I mean immediately, break your gaze with the reflection. Throw a small amount of salt at the mirror and completely cover the mirror with the dark cloth. Important. You must perform these two actions before 3:14 a.m. Do not look in the mirror past 3:13 a.m. in 59 seconds. Turn on the lights. Extinguish the candle. This ritual is a little bit different. Unlike the other rituals that we have shared, you do not need to remove the mirror from the premises. But from now on, leave it covered up between the hours of 3 a.m. and 3:59 a.m. Do not, I repeat, do not allow it to become uncovered during this time. Ever. Keep in mind, during this ritual, do not use a handheld mirror. The ritual must be played on the 13th day of the month. You must be in a dark, quiet room where you are likely to not be disturbed. And once again, do not look at the reflection beyond 3:13 a.m. and 59 seconds. If you do, you will be met with whatever it is in the depths of your reflection, and you will not survive. This was probably one of the most interesting rituals that I've shared probably with you all. It was also very interesting to me because I didn't know it existed until I started doing research for the number 13 for this episode. But I thought it was really cool because it had the perfect balance of creepy and also shows just how the superstition of the number 13 is so worldwide spread that it's being involved in rituals and it's believed to be unlucky in different parts of the world is really, really, really interesting. So I figured when I found out, I was like, well, I'm going to have to share the ritual because, I mean, I just have to. Because I figured if I hadn't heard it, no, I'm sure you guys probably hadn't heard it either. And if you have, then I hope you guys enjoy hearing it again. And if anyone does decide to do this, I would seriously suggest not. But if you do decide to do it, let us know what your experiences are. And if you do decide to play, once again, for the love of everything, be sure that you follow the rules and do not look in the mirror past 3:13 a.m. and 59 seconds. Do not do it. Do not do it. So that sharing of the ritual does conclude the first night of our 13 nights of frights. Come back tomorrow for a whole new episode about the nursery rhymes and the children's songs that we sung as kids, but turns out they're not so innocent as we thought they were. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay bizarre.